How long is too long to be living with mum and dad? A new study by AMP has found a marked change in the attitude of young people when it comes to leaving home. Unlike previous generations, most young people today don't want to leave, or maybe they just can't afford to. The study found 68% of those aged 20 to 39 support multi-generational living, but fewer than 2 in 5 people aged 65 and over do. I wonder why. So is this a failure of ambition on the part of young people, or is it a failure of successive governments who've made housing unaffordable? I'd argue it's very much the latter. Our politicians constantly talk about supporting young people, but the only support program they've created is the one that's always existed. Mum and Dad. What do you think, Danica? How old were you when you moved out of home?
I was 27 years old when I moved to Sydney. That's when I first moved out of home. And I loved living at home. I really, really did. Obviously, you can save a lot more money, but if you've got a good relationship with your parents, and I'm very lucky that I do, and I know that your boys have a wonderful relationship with you as well, it's fun. It's great. And you look forward to seeing your mum and dad every day. I feel like I was late to move out of home. I think that in my opinion, Aussie standards, 27 is quite late. I feel like we have a culture in this country where people do move out of home late teens, early 20s. Maybe not so much now, according to this study, because people are struggling with money and cost of living, so they're trying to stay home longer. But I think there's a culture of you move out straight away, and I wonder if parents are ready to do that, where in Italian households you stay forever and you stay up until you get married. That's when you move out, and then when you do get married, you end up moving right next to mum and dad. So that's just a real Italian culture. But look, right now, it's very, very difficult to buy your own place. And yet Labor's been talking to us about this intergenerational equity, this line that's gone into the never, never now. And so, of course, more people are moving back home. They're trying to save as much money as they can. And I also feel like it probably helps mum and dad out as well to pay the bills.
Well, I can tell you, I moved out at 21 and I was ready to get out of there by the time I left. Surely there comes a point where you feel like living with your parents is clipping your wings a little bit, and you want your own space with the freedom to do what you want when you want. It's your domain as opposed to someone else's domain. You don't have to be concerned with, whether you're disturbing other people in the house. It's your house. You go find somewhere for you to live that is your place, that you have to look after. It gives you a level of responsibility, which I think is important and is a good thing, and something that is delayed now for a lot of children. They're not children, we're talking about young adults here, but I think their childhood gets extended a lot longer than it used to, because it's now an expectation that you'll go to university. And so, like, if you're going to uni, it is really hard to move out. So a lot of kids will end up staying at home until at least 24, 25, and then they're finally getting a job, but they're not earning a lot of money, and on it goes. But I could not wait to get out there. What annoys me, though, is when you see, and I really don't understand it, and have a look at all the people gallivanting around in Europe at the moment, young people, who are staying at home with mum and dad so they can raise money to just go and spend it, right?
But what's wrong with that?
If you wanted to save money to go and buy yourself a home, you're putting together a deposit, which is what I did. As soon as I had the money to go and buy a unit, I was out of there. But if you're just staying at home, enjoying mum and dad's largesse so that you can go and have a gay old time while they're paying off the mortgage for the house that you're living in, I don't think that's terribly fair.
I don't see what the problem is with that. If you're contributing to help mum and dad out, if you're paying for your grocery bills, you're cooking your own meals, you are contributing to gas and electricity.
Let's be honest, that's not really happening in most situations where the kids are staying
but how do you know that?
Because I lived at home for a while. My brother lived at home till very recently.
But in a cost of living crisis, mum and dad might say, son, you're most welcome to stay here, no worries. Are you able to chip in for the groceries every now and then, please? Because there's, we're trying to feed a big family here.
Well, and
you know what? Who cares if they're going to Europe? If I say, you know what, you're young, go and enjoy your time now, because once you get a property, it's going to be even harder to go and gallivant around the world, as you put it.
I'd be saying get the property ASAP, because the sooner you get in the market, the better. But anyway.
Well, you're poking my buttons here, Caleb, because I've got a son in Europe at the moment. And as soon as he gets home, we'll be talking about upping the rate of board that he will be paying. But my boys have both said to me, Dad, I don't know how we're ever going to be able to move out until we get married, which is not a bad thing, I suppose, because the cost of housing in Sydney is just so prohibitive. And I think the question is not why aren't young people moving out? The question is, why does someone with a full-time job still require parental assistance to survive in the economy that we've been gifted by successive governments?
G'day mates. 3 in 5 young adults under 40 are still bunking with mum and dad. And it's got nothing to do with laziness and everything to do with a housing market that's basically told an entire generation to get stuffed. Quick favour before continue, if you're loving this breakdown, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. It genuinely helps this channel keep digging into stories like this one. Costs nothing, takes a second, means the world. Cheers if you did. Right, back to it.
Yeah, well, I mean, as I said before, intergenerational equity's gone down by the never. Rents are going up, and it has been proven that rents will continue to increase even with these tax changes as negative gearing and the other tax change. So it is very, very difficult unless you want to get a share house. Now, I don't think a share house is for everybody. No. The prospect of living with 4 or 5 others sends shivers up my spine, to be quite honest. A lot of people would enjoy that. A lot of young people would enjoy that sort of social experience. And I actually, for one, think it's really important for young people to have that sort of social experience.
I'm happy for the kids to live at home until they're 80.
I
would miss them. I would miss them so badly when they move.
Yeah, but okay, but all right. So parents say this, right? And when I moved out, you know, mum moped around and moaned about it for about 3 days. And then I would go back to their place for dinner and my old bedroom suddenly been turned into a craft room. Yeah. I mean, it happened in about 5 seconds flat. She said she was so sad I was leaving, but the minute I was out of there, the room's been bloody taken back and turned into a craft room.
Yeah, I must admit, every time I go back home to Perth, I open the wardrobe and there's a George Foreman grill sitting in there. There's a slow cooker in the wardrobe. I'm going, what is all these appliances?
And you're expecting like a shrine to Danica.
Of course.
And I have to say as well, I think there's the danger now that people never get to really have some time to be empty nesters because people are having children older than they used to, and then children are leaving older than they used to, and so you might end up in this position where you don't get to have maybe that 10 or 15 years where it's just you and your wife or you and your husband that you get to enjoy quietly together before you start having to face the inevitable health problems that you will, which is a time at which you might move back in with your children or end up in a nursing home or whatever. But that might be something that disappears because if you're having kids staying at home until you're 60, 65, 70 and it's not long after that you might be having to look at going back to live with them, I think that's a little bit sad to be honest.
People are also working longer too now.
Well, indeed. I mean, it never ends. Everything just gets older and older, it would seem.
Here's the number that should stop you in your tracks. 68% of Australians aged 20 to 39 reckon living with your parents as an adult is perfectly normal. Compare that to under 40% of the over 65s, and you've got a genuine generational split on what counts as making it in this country. But before you go blaming avocado toast, let's talk about what's actually driving this. Picture the Australian housing market as a game of musical chairs, except someone's quietly removed half the chairs, jacked up the entry fee, and told everyone under 35 to keep dancing anyway. Sydney median house prices are sitting well north of $1 million. Wages have crawled forward at a snail's pace, and entry-level jobs simply don't cover rent, groceries and a car payment anymore. So young Australians aren't rejecting independence, they're being priced out of it. Now here's where it gets spicy. The policy settings driving this mess. Negative gearing keeps pumping investor demand into a market already starved of supply. Successive governments have talked a big game on intergenerational equity while doing very little to fix it. And meanwhile, young Aussies are stuck footing the bill for decisions made well above their pay grade. It's a bit like being handed a restaurant tab for a meal you never ordered. But here's the twist. This isn't purely a sob story. Plenty of families are finding genuine upside. Shared bills, built-in companionship, grandparents getting extra time with grandkids. Some parents will tell you they miss the noise the second the bedroom becomes a home gym. Others admit they've never felt more supported. It's messy, it's emotional, and it's reshaping what adulthood even looks like in this country. Because here's the real shift. The old milestones of moving out at 18, buying a home by 25 are quietly becoming relics. The empty nest phase itself is shrinking, sandwiched between later kids and later departures. So the real question isn't why so many young Australians are still at home, it's why a full-time worker in one of the wealthiest countries still needs mum and dad's spare room to get by. Something to sit with. Thanks so much for watching.